Mhm. 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 Hey everyone, welcome to Have a Happy Sunday to everyone here. Good to have you here. And today I am proud to announce this will be the start of a brand new flight simulation series of mine. And we're going to explore the cities that have photogrammetry, and it's called, well, simply the city tours. We visit all sorts of the simulated cities that we're going to be visiting today. And today, what better way to start our trip today by visiting the Music City, Nashville, Tennessee. It's a place I just visited this past last week. And this city here truly has a lot of charm itself. We're actually located in Murfreesboro today. This is going to be where we start our trip in Murfreesboro, which is the largest suburb here in Nashville. So let's go over our flight plan for today. Going over to our little map, which will be quite helpful for today's flight. Let me go ahead and let's go ahead and I'm also gonna get rid of this extra clutter. So I'm just gonna do this. Just get rid of all the extra clutter. So for today's flight, we'll be taking off from Murfreesboro Municipal. From here, we're going to be traveling to Middle Tennessee State University, which is the largest undergraduate university here in Nashville. Then visit downtown Murfreesboro, and from there we'll travel through the Interstate 41, I believe, I-41, and we fly all the way down. We get past Smirnoff County Airport. We'll fly past that, and we'll make a stop here actually at Nashville International, which is one of the fastest growing airports in the country, at least for international wise. Then we visit quite a few. We visit National Shores Resort. We're going to visit Andrew Jackson's Hermitage, which was built and owned by the seventh president of the United States, Andrew Jackson. Then we're going to visit one of the main things that people know Nashville for, and that is Opryland, and particularly the Opry House, where they've hosted the Grand Ole Opry since the 1970s. Then from there, we'll be visiting the Lane Motor Museum, one of the largest collections of European cars in the country, and at least for the state of Tennessee. Then from here, we'll be visiting the Silman Bridge. Then there's the John Singerhalter pedestrian bridge. Then we visit Fort Nashboro, the fort that helped establish the city of Nashville. Nissan Stadium, home of the Tennessee Titans and NFL team. Then we'll visit First Horizon Park, which is home to the Tennessee Sounds minor league baseball team. The Tennessee State Museum. We'll visit Fisk University, which is a historic university here. Then the Tennessee State Capitol. Then the world famous Ryman Auditorium was the longtime home of the Grand Ole Opry. Fly over Broadway, one of the most important streets for entertainment. The Johnny Cash Museum, Bridgestone Arena, home to the Nashville Predators hockey team, Nashville's favorite sports team. Then the Country Music Hall of Fame Museum, the Music City Exposition Center, Fort Neagley, which is the large inland fort built in the Civil War. We'll visit the fairgrounds, including the soon-to-be opened Geodis Park, home to Nashville Soccer Club, Nashville Zoo, Lipscomb University, Belmead Historic Site, Belmont University, and the mansion, Belmont Mansion, Music Row, Vanderbilt University and Vanderbilt Stadium, the Nashville Parthenon, and finally Tennessee State University, and then we'll land here at John C. Toon Airport at Kilo Juliet Whiskey, I think, and so that is going in November. So that is going to be our flight plan for today. It seemed like to be a busy one, but I want to hit all the major landmarks because you know how meticulous I can be. So what plane are we going to take for today's flight? We need something slow, so we need to get over all the landmarks. So I think a good pick is this plane right here. This here is actually a very interesting little plane. It is a Top Runner Solo 103 Ultralight. Now, this plane was actually in the sim by Asobo. This little ultralight is perfect. It can take off at about 100 feet. It goes slow, which is 45 to 55 knots, depending on how fast I feel like I want to go. But this is perfect for a trip like this. Because it's so small and flies so slow, you can catch all of the landmarks here in Nashville. In addition to this as well, this plane is also really good as well. Because you have such excellent visibility. So you can see out of the side, you can even see from below, which is perfect for a trip like this. So let's and you can definitely tell from the cockpit, this is a very minimalist cockpit, which is actually nice because it means I'm focused more on flying. I've definitely grown a liking to this little ultralight. The last time I've flown this was during my baseball stream when I flew over all the spring training sites. And I might be taking that, and now this might be the primary plane I'm going to be taking for the Bush Trip series. For these city tours, this might be the plane I'm going to take. Very nice little ultralight, which is just really cool. So let's get this little ultralight started. So we just fully pry the brake, pull the stick fully backwards, turn on the master switch, on, idle, throttle is on, idle. Hey Martel, good to have you here. Great to have you here, Martel. I'm going to turn on, set the instrument. Okay, it looks good. We turn on the master switch, it's on. Idle, full F, brakes. It's clear prop, and we'll start. Hey! Hey! She started. Nice. After we start the engine, and we can release the brakes. Now, of course, she doesn't have much lights or anything, but to be fair, this plane doesn't really need it. She can be a little noisy, little one, but I like this plane a lot. It's so fun to fly. Obviously, before we get started, I'm gonna set her tanks to full. Because this thing because of how small this is, while this is great for flying in small areas, this thing doesn't have much of what you call range, if you know about me. Now, some interesting fact about this airport, this is actually used by the Middle Tennessee State University, actually uses this airport. And believe it or not, Middle Tennessee State is known for its aerospace department, and it's the largest ATC training initiative programs in the country. And they actually own quite a few planes, actually. They owned 19 Diamond DA-40s, a DA-20 Katana, which is a airplane trainer, 3 Piper Arrows, 3 Piper PA-44 Seminoles, a Super Cub, a DHC-2 Beaver, and yes, they even own a King Air 350. Yes, Middle Tennessee State actually owns this sort of thing. So, kind of weird, but it's actually a really cool fact that I think more people know about this. I'm going to go ahead and turn right. Now, the reason I'm actually parking in the middle of the runway is for one simple reason. This ultralight doesn't need a run line. So I'm gonna wait here. I don't. Now, if anyone else wants to join, I'm on East USA server. And let me give you the route if you guys want to join. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing up. Pull back on this. And yeah, like I said, this thing does not mean much to get off the ground. It's just like, boom, we're off. Now, if you don't have this plane, don't worry if you don't have it. You could take the 103 Aerolite from Nimitz Designs. If you have the Drifter Ultralight, that's perfectly great too. But if you don't have any of those, if you have Premium Deluxe, you have the Shock Ultra, which can get plenty slow enough for this trip. You also have, and it's also great if you take any of the helicopters. The H-135 or 145 are perfectly viable planes to take on for today's trip. So let's go to our first stop here. Let me go ahead and get my slideshow ready. So this here is Nashville, Tennessee. It's going to be our city tour. So let's talk a bit about Murfreesboro. Murfreesboro is a city in Rutherford County, Tennessee. It's the largest suburb here in Nashville. It used to actually be the capital of Tennessee from 1818 to 1826. And it's currently Tennessee's fastest growing major city and one of the fastest growing cities in the country. And it's home to the world's largest cedar bucket. This bucket in particular can hold 1,556 imperial gallons, and it's about 6 feet tall. Pretty cool stuff. Dank Rimmer, good to have you here in the chat. First time chat, Dank, good to have you here. So we're doing our city tour. And we're in Murfreesboro, we just took off. So Murfreesboro itself has some good stuff. It's got plenty of music festivals and arts and shopping. It was one of the sites during the Civil War, the Battle of Stones River, between the Union Army of the Cumberland and the Army of Tennessee. Some very notable people that actually live here, that are actually from here, include the co-founder of Green Pal, Brandon Clayton, the first mayor of Houston, Texas, James Holdman, and Jean MacArthur, who is the wife of the U.S. Army General Douglas MacArthur. Also, David Price was actually born here too in Murfreesboro. And one more thing, Major League Baseball pitcher David Price was born here too. So yeah, there's quite a few major people from around here. There's First Lady Sarah Polk was born here as well. So lots of pretty famous people were born here and here. So I'm going to go ahead and head to Middle Tennessee State University, so MTSU. Middle Tennessee State actually is one of the things this area is known for. So MTSU was established all the way back in 1911 as a normal school. It currently consists of 8 undergraduate colleges as well as a college of graduate studies, offering more than 300 programs in more than 35 departments. MTSU is most probably known for its recording industry, aerospace, music, and concrete industry management programs. Hey, Dank, good to have you here. Sailing Murfreesboro. What server you're flying at? Well, here's the thing, there's this command called server, and I'm on East USA. I'm sailing Murfreesboro. Yeah. For that as well. In addition to this as well, Middle Tennessee State in 2009 was ranked among the top 100 public universities in the country by Forbes. Their athletics programs are known as the Blue Raiders. They compete in Conference USA. They play in the FBS. Their football program is most well known as well, along with being successful in baseball and basketball. Some alumni here at Middle Tennessee State, including Albert Gore Sr., the father of Albert Gore Jr., Nobel Prize-winning economist James Buchanan, Kelly Holcomb, and former NFL quarterback, multi-platinum producer Tank Keith, and finally, rock artist Amy Lee of Evanescence, are all from Middle Tennessee State University. And of course, Pro Bowl safety Kevin Byard from the Titans is also from here too. So that's Middle Tennessee State. Let's go ahead and move on to oh, yay, Planet Neutral, great to have you here. Planet Neutral, great to have you here. So yeah, we're in Murfreesboro. We just started the flight. Just try to reduce the noise. This plane is a bit of a noisy one, that's for sure. So from here, we're going to visit downtown Murfreesboro. So if you guys don't mind, I can play some bit of music. Just keep in mind, most of the music for today will be country music because, obviously, if you've never been to Nashville, you see all sorts of things about country music. I mean, while Nashville's known for many genres, country is a big deal here. I really like this view down here. This is definitely a great way to explore the city and all that. So, I'm going to go ahead and pause this music for a bit. So, I'm going to talk a bit about Nashville, if you guys don't mind. So, Nashville. What do we know about this city? So, Nashville is actually the capital of Tennessee, and is the largest city here as well. This city is extremely important in the South. It's the 21st most populous city in the U.S. and the 4th most populous city in the Southeast. It's located on the Cumberland River, which is one of the major rivers here, in the center of the Nashville metropolitan area, which is one of the fastest growing in the entire country. And trust me, I've been around Nashville, I've been driving over Nashville for a decade, and I can see from there how much the city has actually grown. The city itself was named for Francis Nash, and it grew quickly due to its strategic location as a port on the river and as a railroad center as well. It was the first state capital of the Confederacy to be taken by Union forces in 1862, and after the war, it reclaimed its position as a manufacturing base for the country. Nashville is a global city-type gamma, and it is a major city center for music, particularly country music, which leads to the city being known as the Music City. Nashville is often referred to as the Athens of the South due to all of the educational institutions in the country. It is also a major center for healthcare, publishing, automotive, technology, and transportation industries. And there's quite a few companies that make their headquarters here. Alliance Bernstein, Bridgestone Americas, Logan's Roadhouse, and Ryman Hospitality Properties all make their home here. Now, if you want to know some notable people that are actually from Nashville, there's quite a few major people from the city. And here's at least some of those people. Those people include the singer and founding member of the Allman Brothers band, Greg and Duane Allman. Miley Cyrus was actually born here. Hannah Montana was born in nearby Franklin, but she raised in Nashville. There's all sorts of musicians that there are people born here. They include Hank Williams III, the great-grandson of the original Hank Williams. Bill Belichick, the legendary Patriots head coach, was actually born in Nashville. Bill Belichick, the 6-time Super Bowl champion Patriots, he won all of them here. NASCAR driver Casey Atwood. And Frank Maxwell Andrews, one of the important figures of U.S. military aviation, was born here as well. So yeah, there are quite a few, some very notable people born in Nashville. There's also a few songwriters that make their name here in Nashville. They include some legendary musicians. Johnny Cash made his name here, who is a legend, by the way, one of the greatest, the Man in Black. I mean, who could forget about him? How about another legendary performer and artist? Dolly Parton, born in Seaverville, but she got her name known in Nashville. There's also Loretta Lynn. Tim McGraw makes his music in Nashville. And one final person I want to make a mention. Definitely one major name. And of course, how about Reba McEntire? One of the most, like, the queen of country, Reba McEntire. So those are all some pretty notable musicians. There's also political figures too, including former U.S. President James K. Polk. and Andrew Jackson, the 7th U.S. President of the United States, and Andrew Jackson all were from around the Nashville. All of them were part of the Tennessee political stuff, and there's quite a few other Nashvillians too. So lots of very important people called Nashville their home. So the history of Nashville, Tennessee is definitely very cool. Oh, fly lower, please. Oh, yeah, I probably flew a little too high. Lawnkeeper, good to have you in the chat. I really appreciate it. First time chat. Sorry about flying a little high. Sorry. So let's talk about the history of Nashville. Let's start with the prehistory. So the history of Nashville goes back for about a couple thousand years. The area that was once Nashville was first inhabited by the Native Americans that arrived here from 13,000 BC, part of the Paleo-Indian prehistory. For millennia, the descendants of these first Tennesseans lived along the river Tennessee uplands overlooking the Cumberland, and they have a very dense archaeological record spanning the different eras, including the Paleo-Indian, Archaic, Woodland, and Mississippian periods. The final culture to inhabit this, what would become Nashville, are the Mississippian cultures, identified by archaeologists based on the burial practices and all artistic style and ceramic styles. And they've been around 1000 AD. And you can still find these all over the city. I suffered from stallage. Oh no. Yeah. So while there wasn't really much archaeological evidence from the 14 to 1500s, they said those society collapsed because of rapid population growth and dwindling resources, which led to all sorts of warfare, disease, and nutritional deficiencies. So that's what caused the Mississippian culture to kind of fall apart. So the first Europeans to actually arrive here, what would be Tennessee, was actually was part of an expedition led by a Spanish explorer known and conquistador Fernando de Soto in the 16th century. Although the exact route of his expedition is unclear, they do not appear to have reached Middle Tennessee or Nashville. Instead, the earliest Europeans to actually visit what would be Nashville were French fur traders, as France had a major contingency on the fur trade back then. And one of those was Martin Chatier, and he established a trading post in 1689 on the Cumberland River. And that's right near the present-day site of the city. Jean du Chaviel established one in 1710 as a natural sulfur and saline stream, what would now be known as the Bicentennial Capitol Mall State Park, or Bicentennial Mall. And that natural salt lake attracted animals and attracted Native American hunters, and became known as French Lake. The same portion would later be known as the Sulphur Spring Bottom in the Sulphur Dell. And then in 1769, a French-Canadian hunter named Timothy de Montbrun, he began a series of trips and he settled in Nashville permanently in 1788, and he ran a tavern and mercantile business through the area. Now we get to Fort Nashboro. So Fort Nashboro was the first permanent fort established in the area, and this was used to protect the settlers from the animals and the natives. And that lasted for about a couple of decades. And now we get to the early part of it as well. More than 30 years after receiving the charter as a city, Nashville was selected as the permanent capital in 1843, and it still became the capital to this day. There were some top contenders. There were several towns who were nominated, but Nashville and Charlotte were top contenders, but Nashville only won by one vote. The Capitol building was constructed over a period of 14 years, and it was designed by Philadelphia architect William Strickland. And they had to do a lot of slave stuff because if you know anything about the American South at the time, slavery was a really big deal back then. And for years, Nashville was considered to be one of the wealthiest southern capitals, especially in the large portion of it being to its iron business, as Nashville led the South in iron. Which leads it to the Civil War era, as Tennessee was the last state to join the Confederacy on June 24, 1861, when the governor at the time, Issued Harris, proclaimed that all connections to the state of Tennessee with the federal union was dissolved, and that Tennessee is a free independent government. And Nashville quickly became an immediate target for Union forces due to the city's significance as a shipping port. And Nashville fell on February 16, 1862, and became the first state capital of the Confederacy to fall to the Union troops, led by John Carlos Burrell. After taking over the city, the Union forces have occupied it. And there was kind of a bit of uprising in the guerrilla attacks. 1864, the Confederate Army of Tennessee arrived south in the city, and it set up the Battle of Nashville in 1864, which led to the victory of the Union over the outnumbered Confederates. And refugees poured into the city during the war because they were plentiful of jobs and all the depots and stuff, serving the war effort. Unionists, Confederate sympathizers, as did free blacks and escaped slaves, all make their way here in Nashville. And after the Civil War ended with the Union victory, Nashville grew into an important trade center, as its population in just less than 4 years went from 17,000 to almost 81,000 people by 1900. During the meantime, one of the most feared terrorist groups in American history, the Ku Klux Klan, was established by John W. Morton. And he imitated that Nathan Bedford Force and led to a lot of attacks on the free blacks during that time. In the late 1880s, the African American and poor whites were affected by changes in state legislature, mainly by something called the poll tax. And it was to discourage poor people from voting. And this poll tax and the attempt was to disenfranchise most of the blacks and many poor whites. And as a result, about 1/3 of the state's citizens were shut out of the political process, and it lasted for decades until passage of legislation during the Civil Rights Movement. In 1897, Tennessee hosted Nashville hosted the Tennessee Centennial and International Exposition, a war fair celebrating the 100th anniversary of Tennessee to the Union. And they even built a replica of the Parthenon, which is still standing to this day. Nashville was also one of the last major cities to adopt a commission form of government. 1916, there was a huge fire at East Nashville, destroyed over 500 homes. And of course, there was even a great train wreck in 1918, which is the worst rail accident in U.S. history, killing 101 people. But the most important thing during the 1910s was Nashville was 36th state needed to help pass the 19th Amendment, which allowed women the right to vote. In more recent history, Nashville was a major center for the Civil Rights Movement. As in 1957, there was a school bombing at Hetty Cotton Elementary School, and it helped inspire the furthering of the Civil Rights Movement. And hundreds of college students did a sit-in campaign to desegregate the lunch counters, inspired by students in Greensboro. And even though they were initially met with violence, the protesters were eventually successful in pressuring local business to end racial segregation. And some of these include people like James Bevel, Diane Nash, Bernard Lafayette, how about Senator John Lewis, and others. All were part of the Civil Rights Movement. And in recent years, there is NHL, the first professional sports team in Nashville being the Nashville Predators. Then the Tennessee Titans moved here. And Nashville over the recent years has really grown as a major city. It's grown a lot. since then, and has become one of the most important cities in the American South. So that is the history of Nashville. I'm going to go over a couple more things. So Nashville geographically lies on the Cumberland River, which the Cumberland is a 688-mile-long river that drains through northern Kentucky and Tennessee, southern Kentucky and north-central Tennessee as well. And it's known for recent years being a major area for floods. So floods are quite a big deal here. In addition to this as well, Nashville's kind of a low-lying city, with the tallest point being 1,163 feet. In addition to native forest, Nashville can have hot summers, abundant rainfall, and mild winters, which allowed for different types of plants to thrive here, both temperate and subtropical plants. Mainly southern magnolia and cherry blossoms are a big deal, and in fact there are cherry blossom festivals in the city for that. So the economic boom Nashville's had in the 21st century was pretty much known as a southern boot town, and a lot of it had to do with real estate, as it was a driver for it. Also, Nashville's home to tons of companies. Mainly healthcare is the biggest sector of Nashville's economy. Of course, you can't forget about music stuff, because the big three record labels, along with other independent labels, have offices here in Nashville, mainly in Music Pro. The automotive industry is a big deal, thanks to Nissan North America being now part of Nashville. So that is a big deal. And Nashville also is just very attractive for businesses. And culturally, Nashville is also diverse as well. Mainly the large university community is a big deal. You can one of the things you can find is cuisine: hot chicken, hot fish, barbecue, and meat and three, which are very popular here in Nashville. And of course, you can't talk about Nashville's culture without music. I mean, that's why it's called the Music City. Like I said, it's called the Music City for a reason. You also have Nashville theater, opera, symphony, and of course, the Grand Ole, mostly country music. Grand Ole Opry, the Country Music Hall of Fame Museum, the Belcourt Theater and Ryman Auditorium. It's home to many music festivals, including the CMA Music Festival. All make their home here. Also, Christian music is pretty important here too. And while Nashville was never really known as a jazz town, it did have many great jazz bands over there. And of course, tourism is a big deal as well, and that's another reason why Nashville's grown so much, is tourism. Obviously, I mean, music's a big deal, but also Nashville has a lot of history. The Civil War, the Battle of Nashville, and the Battle of Franklin are all here. I've been on the General Jackson Showboat. That's another one too. There's also lots of historical stuff, the Belmead Plantation, the Andrew Jackson Hermitage, and all that. So Nashville's got rich culture, and of course, in recent years, it's been popular for bachelor and bachelorette parties too. So yeah, that's a bit about Nashville. I got to see an opera show recorded at the Ryman. Oh, that's awesome! I wish I could go to see the Opry at some point. That would be amazing. My brother and sister got to go see the Grand Ole Opry. I heard it's legendary. Opry's legendary. And finally, this will be the last for this leg, but this is Nashville, where we're landing here. We're going to go straight in. This is Nashville International Airport, KBNA. It's one of the fastest growing airports in the country. It's an international airport as well. And it's actually ranked the fastest growing in the U.S. It serves more than 600 daily flights from Nashville to many other areas, not just in the U.S., but also in Europe. It was originally established in 1937, with the current terminal being built in 87. It covers about 3,900 acres with 4 runways. They're all concrete. They go between 7,700 feet to the longest being 11,030 feet. And it's grown, like in Nashville, it's grown a lot. And to accommodate the future growth of the airport, they know B&A vision to increase new terminals and expanding all the operations and stuff. this airport is served for many different airlines, including Alaska Airlines to Seattle and Tacoma, Allegiant Air, American Airlines, Southwest flies. It's the main thing for Southwest Airlines. It's even flown by British Airways. Yes, British Airways even flies here to London. Which, I mean, when I looked at that, I was surprised. Like, they fly to London? Like, that's pretty crazy. I mean, you can imagine a one-way trip from Nashville to London. Pretty cool. But yeah, they fly international flights here too. And of course, Air Canada is going to be doing Toronto, Pearson, and Montreal. So they fly from all around the world here. With the busiest route being to Atlanta, Georgia. So that's going to be... Yeah, they used to record the show. I am going to mention that, actually, Plan Neutral. They actually used to do it in the Ryman. That was their main thing from 43 to 74. So we're now approaching our first stop here, Nashville International. So we can definitely see some of the golf courses in the area. But yeah, I love the visibility on this plane. It's fantastic. The visibility on this is amazing. So the runway we're going to be landing on is going to be straight in. We're going to land here at runway 31, which is actually the longest runway in the entire airport. So I don't have to worry about the airport. The question is, how am I going to perform in this landing? If you go to do exclamation point predict, you guys can predict my landing. So just put exclamation point predict, then put a negative number, and that's how you predict. So I want to ask you guys in the chat, I hope you guys have had a great weekend so far. I've been working on this all night. I spent all the way to 12 a.m. to finish the last of this. But I really wanted to get in depth with all the landmarks and all the stuff, so I can show you everything about the city and all that. Because it's the least I can do to help you guys out. Hey, USAPR1, good to have you here. Oh yeah, and let me get a shout out for someone. Guys, if you haven't checked out Planet Neutral, really awesome guy. He's from around my home state. And he's a librarian, so he's one of the few people who can truly understand how I value my research. But he's definitely a really cool guy, and I really want you guys to check him out. So definitely click the link and definitely give this guy a follow. I know he streams later at night, but I think it'd be really cool you guys check him out. No problem. No problem, Planet Neutral. It's going to be a bit of a landing, so I'm just going to have to press it really slow. But yeah, I love flying this little thing. Plus, I think these city tour streams are also going to be a good time for me to get this little guy in the air, because I think it's really good for my streams to do the city tours. Oh, you're going to start... Oh, tonight you're going to start a run for the Danube. Ooh. Yeah, the Danube, very important river. For a lot of people who don't know, that the Danube River is an extremely important city. Not important. The Danube is actually an important river in Europe. It flows through all throughout Central Europe, mainly in cities like Vienna, Bratislava, Budapest, and into Romania as well. But the Danube is such an important... It's one of the lifeblood rivers of all of Europe. Yeah, it runs through more countries than any other river. Exactly. I believe it flows through Germany, Austria, a little bit of Czechia, mainly Slovakia, and Romania and Bulgaria. Romania. Not bad. Not bad. 161 feet per minute. Not bad. And USPR wins that one. He guessed 150 feet per minute. Which, hey, that was a great guess. Great guess, actually. Let's see if anyone else is here. Let's see if anyone else is here for the landing. So this guy here is Nashville International Airport. Now, this is obviously base scenery. I did find a scenery on Flights MTL, but it wasn't been updated, and it didn't get really good ratings. I'm curious to see if there's someone that can do Nashville International. So this is the International Airport. Let me go ahead and check fuel. I'm going to go ahead and put it back to max. Because for the rest of this, we're going to be flying through the whole city. So this should be pretty interesting. So this would be a good time for all you guys who haven't joined in to join in. Oh yeah, and apparently there's one more thing I forgot. During World War II, this airport was actually used by the Air Transport Command as the headquarters for the 4th Fairing Command for new aircraft. I love to hop in, but I'm trying to squeeze in some flight plan of my own before the 3-hour round trip to Indy. No worries, Planet Neutral, but I appreciate you being here in the chat. That's important. So, guys, let's go ahead and get back to the cockpit. Let's get ready to fly. All right, let's get back to the air. I mean, I don't need much of a runway on this little guy. This little guy doesn't need much of a runway. Oh yeah, let me show you what this thing's really known for. No! Ah! No. I need to get the 135 and learn helicopters. Yeah, the 135 is a great plane. In fact, I can't really fly the copters. I probably need to wait for native support helicopters to come into the sim before it. So we're gonna head off and head 65 degrees east. We're gonna visit the lakeside resort known as Nashville Shores. So fly over that first. he saved it. Yep. So here's one of the main terminals for it. All the gates. This would be used for airliners and all that. So, the idea for this stream was inspired by Friend to All, and he felt like my knowledge of all things, the cities and landmarks would come in handy, and I think he might actually be right. What's the name of the lake? Oh, the lake? The lake, I believe, is actually not a lake. It's a reservoir. It's the Jane Percy Priest Reservoir. This lake is actually a reservoir. It's formed by the dam called the J. Percy Priest Dam on the Stone River. And it was authorized in 1946 by the U.S. Congress. Oh yeah, and one more thing. Last year on May 29th, a Cessna Citation crashed into that lake. It killed all 7 on board, including actor Joe Lara and Christian Arthur and Tradition Gwyn Shamblin Lara. Lakeside sounds better than the reservoir side. Yeah. It's kind of how I feel about it too. So we're heading to Nashville Shores Lakeside Resort. So this is actually a 385 acre family recreation destination. So here it is. So here it is in Nashville Shores. Then we're going to head to actually one of the first of the really historic sites here. We're visiting Andrew Jackson's Hermitage. So this is actually going to be the first of the historic landmarks here. We're visiting here in Nashville. They may need to remember to flood site if in case we have bad flooding. Yeah, the Cumberland can flood. The most recent one, I believe, was in 2010. So this is the Andrew Jackson Hermitage. It's also known as the Hermitage. This is the Hermitage. This was actually an historical museum 10 miles east of downtown Nashville. It is over 1,000 acres, and it was owned by Andrew Jackson, the 7th president of the U.S. And from 1804 until his death in 1845, it also serves as his final resting place, as Jackson lived on the property until he retired from public life in 1837. For guys who don't know anything about Andrew Jackson, he was definitely one of the most controversial, historically important, but very controversial American presidents. Some people like the fact he took on the U.S. Bank. But one of his most infamous acts, though, was something called the Trail of Tears, where he removed most members of the major Native American tribes in the southeast to the Indian Territory, which would be modern-day Oklahoma. And this was definitely still controversial even to this day about Andrew Jackson. Though he was considered by many of his supporters to be someone who supports the common man against the corrupt aristocrats. So definitely a very interesting United States president. Definitely a very controversial one, that's for sure. Now, at the Hermitage, enslaved men, women, and children, numbering 9 from the plantations purchased in 1804 to 110 at his death, worked at the Hermitage, and they were primarily focusing on cotton, a major cash crop. It's currently a National Historic Landmark, and was added there in December 19th, 1960. It was chosen as a house site by Jackson's wife, Rachel Jackson. And that mansion itself was a 2-story federal-style building built with bricks by skilled people. And it took them about a couple of decades, but it was currently built in its current form was 1835, was built currently. And currently, the site is overseen and managed by the Andrew Jackson Foundation, as well. And this includes a smokehouse made of brick. There are also 2 other cabins built. And they've done some archaeological stuff at the site. Found out there was an ice house, which hosted a lot of artifacts. Hundreds of thousands of unique artifacts, including and all that sort of stuff. So there's definitely some major history for cotton plantation, and it shows all sorts of things, including the slave, all the slaves and stuff worked there after the Civil War, as well, and it became a museum ever since. And there's even a hotel named the Hermitage Hotel, and many celebrities and U.S. presidents actually spent at the Hermitage Hotel. And it's even one of the filming sites for the 1955 Disney film Davy Crockett, King of the Wild Frontier, as well. So let's get to the Hermitage. The Hermitage is actually going to be down here. Not to be confused with the more well-known Hermitage at St. Petersburg, Russia. Correct, but this is the Nashville Hermitage. Exactly. I should probably change. There. So the Jackson Hermitage is actually to our left. A little bit. And let's go land the Hermitage. Let's go land somewhere around here. Now, I've never been to this one in real life, but the Hermitage was actually one of the places I was really thinking about visiting. So there's also another mansion, the Tulip Grove, that looks like that. There's also, this land site also shares with a cemetery for the Confederates, which is over in this area. Now, I'm not always going to take this little thing for flights. For some of the bigger flights, I may take something like a Savage, like a Shock Ultra. This thing is little. You can still go to Ruse. So here it is, guys. This is Andrew Jackson's Hermitage. We're looking at that right here. There it is. So this is the Hermitage site. Let me go ahead and show this to you guys. So this is Andrew Jackson's Hermitage site in the sim. So that is... Oh, Martel suffered CTD. No. Oh, no, Martel. Oh, I'm so sorry, Martel. So this is his Hermitage. Just flip for a closer look. Gonna be back in forth for my PC for the next chunk of life. Stay flight. No worries there. There's the Notches wine tasting site, which is right below us to our left. So from here, we're going to go ahead and travel to the next destination. This one is one of the most important areas in all of Nashville, if I don't die right. And let's go visit the Grand Ole Opry. So let's go ahead and talk about the next thing. So this is the Grand Ole Opry. Now the Grand Ole Opry is world famous in Nashville. If I gotta say, one thing about Nashville, if I had to pick one thing that describes all about Nashville, I have to talk about the Grand Ole Opry. Now, what is Grand Ole Opry exactly? Well, it's a weekly country music stage concert here in Nashville, founded on November 28, 1925 by radio personality George D. Hay. He originally did it as a 1-hour barn dance on 650 AM WSM radio station, but it's currently now owned by Opry Entertainment, and it's the longest running radio broadcast in U.S. history. It is dedicated to all about country music and its proud history. The Opry showcase a mix of famous singers and top-toppers performing country, bluegrass, Americana music, folk, and gospel music, alongside with comedian performances and skits. Due to this, it attracts hundreds of thousands of visitors from around the world and millions of radio and internet listeners. So the history of this place goes back, like I said, to November 28, 1925, on the 5th floor of the National Life and Accident Insurance Company building. And the first performer to actually be part of this was the 77-year-old fiddler at the time, Uncle Jimmy Thompson. And he was the first person to perform at this place, and it became known as the date the Grand Ole Opry began. And there were some regular bands that showed up during this time. They included guys like Bill Monroe, the father of bluegrass Bill Monroe, the possum hunters with Humphrey Bates, the fruit jar drinkers with the grandfather country, the Dixie Drew Drop, Uncle Dave Macon, and more. In fact, George Hay liked them so much they appeared each at the last show because they wanted to close each segment with a Red Hot fill-in plan, and it quickly became pretty popular as a result. And Uncle Dave Macon became the first real star of Opry. However, as audience for the show kept increasing in the 30s, they needed to get a new venue, and they bounced around a few places until finally settling at the Ryman Auditorium. In 1 hour, the Opry was nationally broadcasted from NBC from 1939 to 1956, and for much of the run, an hour 1 hour after the program that had inspired it happened. And there were a lot of famous artists that played there during the 50s. In fact, in 1954, a certain teenager named Elvis Presley performed at Opry, funnily enough. And even though the audience really liked it, the manager at the time, Jim Denny, felt that the singer did not suit Opry, so he only made one appearance. In the 1960s, the Opry was kind of conservative, so it countered with the hippie counterculture. And it led to quite a few issues, mainly with Ram Parsons of the Byrds. And of course, there are other artists like Jerry Lee Lewis made an appearance. And believe it or not, during the era, Johnny Cash made his debut in '56. And on that day, he actually met his future wife, June Cash, that day. But he was banned in 1965, and it took all the way 3 years later in 1968. In the 70s, the Opry wanted to move to a larger, more modern home, so they moved to what is now the current location, the Grand Ole Opry House. Though in the 90s, they returned back to the Ryman Auditorium for some of the performances that are now held at Ryman. So that is kind of a bit of a story about the Grand Ole Opry, at least some of the history. We especially enjoyed the Ryman Auditorium, the original Grand Ole Opry. Yeah, I mean, not walking to the new one, but yeah, you can't beat the original. So we're going to go ahead and descend a little bit. So we're visiting first Opryland. Now, Opryland was a big deal back in the old day. Opryland actually used to even have an amusement park back in the 70s. All the way to the late 90s, it used to be home to an amusement park known as Opryland USA. And currently right now the site hosts to its own mall and convention center. So here is Opryland, like the music performance. So this is the Opryland Convention Center down below us. So here it is. I believe there is the spectacular Opryland Hotel. I believe there is one, actually. From there, this includes like riverboats and all that. And then we're going to finally fly over the Opry House, guys. So this is the Grand Ole Opry House we're visiting here. This is where the Grand Ole Opry is now hosted. So let's go to the left. So this is the Opry House. Oh, I'm going to go ahead and... So this is the Opry House here in Nashville. This is where they've been hosting the Grand Ole Opry. And this is where they host it. Dollywood obsolete Opryland, I suppose. Yeah, Dollywood. I've been to Dollywood. It is a really nice amusement park. It's an excellent theme park. Lots of great theming. It's themed beautifully. I love Dolly Parton, like all the really cool rides. I've been to most of Dyewood's rides. I've been to Wild Eagle. That was great. Lightning Rod was my favorite. It just flies through the track. Thunderhead's great. That area's got lots of good rides. Down over here is the Showboat. This is the General Jackson. This was actually built not in Nashville, but this was actually built in Jeffersonville, Indiana, by Jeff Boat. And it's a showboat basically. It's styled after the old river boats of the 1830s. And this is the Opryland Ball below us. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and turn left. So we're now going to be heading towards downtown Nashville. Man, I was kind of surprised. We're doing really well today on this stream. Yeah, that's cool. Shout out to Jeffersonville. Yeah, Jeffersonville jet boats made quite a few boats recently. Yeah, people forget Jet Boat was the largest inland shipbuilder in the U.S. during the time. Unfortunately, it was shut down in 2018. Unfortunately. But Jet Boat was known for building large amount of ships inland, and was actually the second largest builder of all the barges in the country. They built all sorts of boats. They built quite a few boats. I mean, these were all built in alphabetical order, but they built a lot of showboats, including the Belle of the Benz in 1890. The Belle Memphis was built as well. And during World War II, they built a lot of vessels. They built a lot of the LSTs during World War II, 123 of them in fact. And submarine chasers too. And Jet Boat also built the Mississippi Queen steamboat and the General Jackson. They built those during the 80s. But yeah, they built a lot of steamboats back in the day. Yep, from Jeff, from my local area. That's very important. Definitely very important to talk about from my home state. So the next place we're visiting is Lane Motor Museum, which is right here. The Lane Motor Museum is located in Nashville. Features a collection of mostly European automobiles. These include Lancias, Alfa Romeos, include some really unusual cars, including Tatras, actually. They have over 500 vehicles in their collection, with 150 displayed at any given day. It was founded in 1958 by Jeff and Susan Lane. His father founded the extrusion business as well. So this motor museum definitely is a pretty cool little museum, and I was wondering, that was one of the things I did want to visit eventually at some point. But they got a pretty big collection. Their collection also includes propeller-driven vehicles, unusual design European cars, microcars, three-wheel cars, amphibious vehicles, military vehicles, competition cars as well. And their official website, they got all sorts of things in their collection. So some of the cars in the collection, they got some really cool ones, some really rare Alfa Romeos. You don't usually see those in the U.S. The Austin Healey Spite. Let's see what Ferrari he got. I believe he got the Fiat 500, the original Fiat, in different versions. He even got a Ferrario as well. So we got some pretty cool little vehicles. Hey, Big Smile Long Miles, first time check, good to see you. Hey, someone flying a GA plane. It is. And it's not just any GA plane that are big smiles. This is actually an ultralight GA plane. This is little tiny 103 Top Runner Solo. It's a little ultralight, but it's very, very fun. And it's perfect for us. We're touring the city of Nashville, so we're going to visit all the landmarks. So if you like this content, don't be afraid to smash the follow button if you really like what you see. Antioxidant TV has just followed. Good to see you, Antioxidant TV. Thanks for coming here today. By the way, guys, now if you guys haven't checked it out yet, I do have a Discord. So if you like the stream and want to get caught up on future content, I have my own channel here on Discord. So once we get past the museum, we're going to visit quite a few bridges, and we're going to get to the skyline of Nashville. So we're here in Nashville. So we're now visiting downtown Nashville, the skyline. Let's get a good pic of the skyline for the city tour pics. I'm really pressing the turnout for today. Very, very. So here it is, quite a few of the bridges. There's the Silman Bridge. Is this an amphitheater on your itinerary? No. Unfortunately, no. I don't have it on my itinerary plan neutral. But I do, however, have the Ryman Auditorium as one of my itineraries. World famous. So there's actually a place I wanted to visit here before we get. So we see Nissan Stadium in there, right? I'll talk about it later. But first, let's go make a quick landing. Oh yeah, there's the amphitheater. There's the amphitheater. Across the water from the stadium. Oh, there's the amphitheater. Okay, let's go ahead and land this thing. Because there's actually a place I wanted to talk about. Let's land in the amphitheater. This is going to be an interesting landing. So, there's actually a good reason I want to land here for a sec, and that's because this is Fort Nashborough. So this area around here is Fort Nashborough. This was a stockade established in 1779 in the French Lick area, and it's the forerunner for modern-day Tennessee. This wasn't really a fortress per se. More like it's a stockade, but this was actually a very important area during the time period. So Fort Nashborough was a major settlement that helped protected the settlers against the wild animals in Native Americans. The founders of it were James Robinson and John Donaldson, and thus they were known as the founders of Tennessee. It lasted from 1779 to its abandonment in 1794, and it helped establish modern-day Tennessee. So it made up all sorts of logs and all that. Currently now the site is a history center, which is located in downtown Nashville. Originally, an original replica was built in the 30s, but it was demolished in 2015. But 2 years later, they held a newly renovated history center where families from Nashville can learn about the story of the city. And this one is very inclusive of the past and features a plaza dedicated to Native American history alongside the normal settler history of Nashville. So, yeah, this area here is actually a very important area and a very important site of Nashville itself. So let's go ahead and take off, and let's go ahead and visit Nissan Stadium, home to Derrick Henry and the Tennessee Titans NFL football team. So what can I say about Nissan Stadium? It's not actually the biggest stadium in Tennessee. That belongs to Wayland Center in Neyland Stadium in Knoxville. But this is the second largest stadium in the state of Tennessee. It's a multi-purpose stadium, and it's currently the home field of the Tennessee Titans since 1999. Also the Tennessee State Tigers of Tennessee State University. It's currently the site of the Music City Bowl for a postseason college football bowl game. And for 2 seasons, it was also home to the Nashville SC MLS soccer team. So here it is. Here, let me go ahead and take a pic. So this stadium has a seat capacity of 69,143 people, featuring 3 levels of seating, with the lower bowl encompassing the entire stadium. The grass being Bermuda sod natural grass. You can also host public events, meetings and parties, and of course concerts, because the CMA Music Festival is here every June. The stadium itself was costed around $290 million constructed, which is equivalent to $472 million in today's dollars. It was architected by HOK Sports, or known as Populous as of now. Originally named the Alphaville Coliseum, then the Coliseum, then LP Field. One of the most important events that happened here was the Music City Miracle, one of the most memorable and definitive plays in the history of the National Football League. It was during the playoffs against the Buffalo Bills in the divisional series. The play in particular occurred when Frank Wycheck threw a lateral to Kevin Dyson, and he ran 75 yards to win the scoring touchdown to send not only Tennessee to a 22-16 victory. This play eventually led to the Titans' first and only Super Bowl appearance, where they fell to the Rams in the Super Bowl. So, pretty cool. So that is a bit about Nissan Stadium. It also hosted other events, including the most recent NHL Stadium Series game, featuring the Predators. So, I'm going to go ahead and land in the stadium, Dank. Let's see if I can land in the stadium. Let's see how I want to approach. So currently, it looks like here that the stands are from LP Field. Now, not far from here is actually a pedestrian bridge, which is this. Here. As you notice, the grass covers everything, Dank. So, unfortunately, it's covered in grass, but I landed in the stadium. And I'm backed off. So go ahead and climb back into the air. Hard to play with all that grass. Yeah. Yeah, this would be good. Yeah, let's go. I'm going to go with this picture. Yeah, but the Titans have been quite successful in Nashville. They've had pretty decent home loss record in Nashville. So this is the Nashville skyline, guys. This includes the all sorts of buildings. This definitely is a very well-known building. Many iconic buildings are here. I think I see what looks like Bridgestone Arena. Actually, no, that's not Bridgestone. That actually is the Nashville Auditorium. So the next here is going to be First Horizon Park. Home of the So this is actually First Horizon Park, home of the Nashville Sounds minor league baseball team. It opened in 2015 as the current home of the Nashville Sounds. It can host up to 10,000 fans. Now, this park incorporates the history of Nashville's baseball heritage and use of imagery inspired by the Sulphur Dell, which was, by the way, if you guys don't mind, let me post a picture of that in the Discord. By the way, if you guys never seen the Sulphur Dell Park, let me go ahead and post this into the stream links in the Discord, and I really recommend you guys check out the Discord. So, So that is the Sulphur Dell. But this ballpark was especially infamous for its massive terraces, which make it a nightmare to play for outfielders. But this new ballpark's most iconic feature is its scoreboard, as it's shaped like a guitar. Which makes it quite a unique sort of ballpark, especially with its unique guitar-shaped scoreboard. Then the next one we're visiting is the Tennessee State Museum. The current building was opened in 2018. I don't think it was built yet by the time we visited here in the sim. Nope. Nope, I don't see it. There's the museum where it would be at right here. Right here's the museum. But this museum depicts the history of Tennessee. It features all sorts of exhibits through the permanent collection, hands-on children's gallery, 6 retained galleries, and a 2-state grand hall. But a very, very nice little museum. So afterwards, we're going to fly over a bit of Fisk University, which is a very well-known historic black African-American college. Hey, Red Baron Flies, good to have you in the chat. I forgot about that. Yeah, the Red Baron, if you're still here, yeah, this plane has great visibility. You can definitely see a lot out of this plane, which makes it perfect for this sort of flight. So from here, we're going to visit the Capitol building, So the Capitol building here in Nashville was designed by William Strickland. It was built between 1845 and 1859, and it's one of the rare state capitals to not have a dome. One of 12 of them, in fact. Also, here's an interesting other fact, too. James Polk, the 11th President of the United States, James K. Polk, is actually buried on the grounds, and his tomb is actually buried around here. So here's the Capitol building. I got a picture of it in real life as well. So this here is the Capitol building. We're paying this a little visit. So here we go. We're now visiting so here it is. Here's the state capitol. So this here is the Tennessee state capitol. So you can definitely tell from around here, there isn't really much of a dome. So it gives it quite a unique design, just point up the Capitol. Over here is the Tennessee Amphitheater. And the Musicians Hall of Fame is located around here. And this is the front of it. Then from the Capitol, we're going to visit the first place. The next place we're visiting is Broadway Street. So let's go and fly around Broadway for a bit. So Broadway Street is over here. So a lot of people want to know, what is Broadway Street in Nashville? So Broadway, this street is one of the most important fairs in Nashville. It is renowned for its entertainment district, renowned for its honky tonks, a bar that provides country music and live country music. Originally named Broad Street, Broadway ended at the shipping docks of the Cumberland River. But the first major country performer to perform here was the father of country himself. Jimmy Rogers performed here in the 1930s. The father of country music, known for his distinct rhythmic yodeling. He rose up to superstar status, and his success attracted other performers, and they created a thriving music scene here, especially on the lower Broadway, which is a section that runs from 1st Avenue to 5th Avenue. However, Broadway Street's popularity declined when the Grand Ole Opry left the Ryman, but came back when the Opry moved some shows back into the area in the 90s. Today, there is some historical buildings that are home to retail shops and restaurants. And as a result, this area, and many famous stars here have gotten their start here at Broadway. They include guys like Dierks Bentley, Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash, Blake Shelton, and Chris Christopherson. All got their start here at Broadway Street. And this area is home to several historical landmarks, and of course tons of restaurants and areas to perform. So definitely a legendary performance. Oh, I forgot. Here's Broadway. So let's enter Broadway for a bit. So here it is. Here is Broadway. Let's get a little more. Gonna be some dangerous flying, but so this big whole street is Broadway. So we're flying all throughout the Broadway. So you can definitely, especially lower end, you see all the little honky tonks. So let's go ahead and let's go to the now let's go to one of the most famous buildings here in Broadway, actually. And one of the truly famous and iconic buildings here. I mean, we can't go to famous buildings in here without mentioning this building. This is the Ryman Auditorium. This iconic building. You may probably see more glamorous than my trash bachelorette parties. Oh, I'm sorry, Point Neutral, but no, but I sound like that because it's all about country music stars, of course, and I want to talk about the history. I'm proud of it. This thing's got a proud history of music. So the Ryman Auditorium. I mean, it is a very iconic performance venue. It has 2,362 seats. This building was actually built all the way back in the 1880s, 1885, and first opened there. And it's been renovated a few times in 1901, 1952, 89, 94, and 2010. When it was built back in the 1880s, it was $100,000, and as of 2021, is actually now $3 million. It currently is operated and owned by Ryman Hospitality Properties, and it is included in the National Registration of Historic Places in 1971 and a National Historic Landmark in 2001 for its pivotal role in the popularization of country music. And this was the historic home of the Grand Ole Opry from 1943 to 1974. And many iconic, legendary artists have performed here. From the Grand Ole Opry days, like Dolly Parton, Loretta Lynn, Hank Williams, Bill Monroe made their country debuts here. They also did the Johnny Cash show. And one of those appearances was actually the final public appearance of Louis Armstrong. The Foo Fighters performed here. Garth Brooks performed here for the first time ever in his professional career, performed here in 2016. And more. And it's featured in a lot of different music and stuff. But yeah, it's a very historic venue. And I mean, I definitely want to go check out the Ryman one day. Check it, because I mean, no music tour of Nashville is complete without visiting the Ryman. Beale Street is very similar. Yeah, Beale Street is very familiar for blues. If you're a blues fan, love the blues music, then absolutely check out, I mean, Beale Street definitely is where all the blues and artists make their appearance. So after the Ryman, there is actually a pretty interesting museum actually right here. Let's see. Oh yeah. Here it is. Here it is. So this is actually a museum dedicated to well, the Man in Black. So this here is the Johnny Cash Museum down below. So the Johnny Cash Museum opened on April 2013 in Nashville. And it's to honor the legendary country artist, the Man in Black, Johnny Cash. It houses the largest collection of Johnny Cash memorabilia and artifacts on the planet, including a stone wall from his lake house in Hendersonville. In fact, this museum is actually officially authorized by the estate of Johnny Cash. Yes, Johnny Cash's whole estate actually honors this thing. Here's some other really cool artifacts they collected from here. It included his Air Force career, including his uniform and memorabilia, handwritten lyrics, including the last song he wrote days before his death, many gold and platinum records, his music instruments, different memorabilia when he was part of the supergroup, the Highwaymen, along with Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, and Chris Christopherson, many of his Grammy and CMA awards, a bag of cotton from his childhood home in Dyess, Arkansas, personal belongings like photographs, items from his home, and personal Bible. And the most recent exhibit added his all-black look and the history of the man who created it, Manuel Cervantes. And it featured all his stuff. And this museum is actually recognized from around the world since its opening. It's one of the only 6 attractions in Nashville to earn a AAA gem rating. And both National Geographic and Forbes rank it near the top list of the travel destinations here in Nashville. And it's one of the best museums you can find in Nashville about Johnny Cash. A brilliant movie was made about Reese Witherspoon about Johnny Cash. Yeah, it includes his first gold record. I Walk the Line was his very first gold record that made him a star. So pretty cool stuff about the man in black, Johnny Cash. Okay, next thing. How about the first major professional sports venue? How about the sports venue of Nashville's very first ever professional team? Yes, we're visiting Bridgestone Arena. So here it is. So let's go ahead and stop here for a bit. So this here is Bridgestone Arena, home of the Nashville Predators. So here it is. Nashville Predators home arena. Bridgestone Arena was actually built back in 1996. The Predators made their home here in 1998, and they're still playing to this day. For hockey, it hosts 17,159 fans, though it can host about nearly 20,000 for concerts. It was designed by HOK Sports, and it actually hosted many concerts and events. The CMA Awards have been hosted here annually since 2006. The Music Awards was hosted for a couple of years. It even hosted the Stanley Cup in 2017 when the Predators made the Stanley Cup. Now, one of the things that makes it unique is the South End was kind of shaped weird, and there's no mid-level seating and only one level suites. Thus, the upper-level seats are closer to the floor than compared to other NHL arenas. And let me tell you, I've been to a Predators game. Let me tell you, the Predator fans in that arena are absolutely crazy fans. They might just be some of the craziest fans in the National Hockey League. And that is saying something because you would never think of it, but I was in that game. It was loud. It was a very loud place to play. I mean, I had a hard time hearing it because of how loud it was. But Predator fans love their hockey, and I even got me not only this t-shirt, I also got a hockey puck. Limited edition hockey puck for the Nashville Predators. But yeah, I love visiting there. My parents loved it too. And they're not even the biggest sports people, but they love visiting, watching the Predators. Very, very fun team to watch. And definitely, if you want to go watch a sports team in Nashville, you can't go wrong checking out the Preds. So now there's another building we got to check out. It's actually right next to the arena. And this is the Country Music Hall of Fame. Now, if the Pro Baseball Hall of Fame is for Major League Baseball, and the Pro Football Hall of Fame Canton is for the American football, this is for what it is for country music. So this Hall of Fame museum is one of the world's largest museums and research center dedicated to American music, particularly country music. This museum is very big, and it's one of the most extensive musical collections on the planet. The current museum itself, it hosted more than 1.2 million visitors in 2019. It was founded during the 1960s, and the first opened in April 1st, 1967. The museum itself, the collection of this is crazy. This included over 250,000 sound recordings in the collection, including 98% of all the pre-World War II country music recordings released commercially, 500,000 photographic prints, negatives, and transparencies, more than 30,000 moving images of film, 900 musical instruments, including those owned by some of the most famous country stars, thousands of stage costumes and accessories, oral histories, manuscripts, scrapbooks, fan club letters, and more. And even vehicles owned owned by Elvis Presley, Webb Pierce, and Jerry Reed. Which is pretty crazy. The museum is huge. It's an enormous museum. Now, I never visited it, though. Ultimately, I picked the Pirates game over this. But, I mean, if I wanted to go back, I definitely would like to go visit there at some point. But definitely a very nice museum. Right next to it is the Convention Center, the Music City Center. It's a convention center. So it's right there. From here, we're going to next visit Fort Negley, which is the largest inland fort built by the U.S. Army during the Civil War. It was built during the Reconstruction period, and it was unfortunately a meeting place for the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan, which was one of the most hated terrorist groups in American history. In the 1930s, they tried to restore the place, but they never got a chance to clear due to World War II. But it took all the way to the 2000s to finally get it be restored. And they redeveloped the area to now a fort, and now it's currently a site of memory in the Slavery Project of UNESCO. So Fort Negley is actually down over here. So Fort Negley is right here. This is where Fort Negley once stood. It's to our right. So here it is, Fort Negley. There is where it once stood. Okay, now this stadium right here, this ballpark. Well, it's currently been torn down now. But this ballpark here used to be the home of the National Sounds baseball team. This is Herschel Brewer Stadium. It used to be the home of the National Sounds until 2014. So here it is. This is the old Sounds ballpark. It seems different from a city to have NHL hockey champions. Yeah, but actually, here's the thing, friends all. There have been warm climate teams winning NHL championships. I mean, the Tampa Bay Lightning have won 3 NHL championships, 3 in Tampa. They've won championships. The Kings won 2 championships in LA. The Anaheim Ducks won a championship in 2006 in a warm weather climate. The Dallas Stars took home a title in '99 from Texas. Even more weirdly, Las Vegas with the Golden Knights went to the NHL Finals in their first season of existence in 2017. So it's not that weird, friends all. It's actually it's not that weird. Canada hasn't won a Stanley Cup since '93. Music City, where's the conference? Huge. Wow, I think Vegas is good. Yeah, they just missed the playoffs for the first time this year. It's pretty funny. So over here is the Nashville Fairgrounds. Now, this was back in 2014 with the Historic Fairgrounds. Now, next to this site here, this is where Nashville SC Soccer Stadium is going to be built. It's actually making its grand opening today. With its 30,000 seat capacity, it's going to be the largest soccer-specific stadium in the U.S. or Canada. It features 6 lounges, 24 box suites, and a dedicated entry gate to the supporters group. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, it's being built today. This is Geoda's Park, which is the new home in Nashville SC. No kidding, it is. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, like I said, what a coincidence. What an absolute coincidence. pretty crazy. Canadians can't play hockey to win. Unfortunately, I mean, with so many... Here's the thing, though. The NHL, the only Canadian teams that I know of are Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, Winnipeg, Edmonton, and... I don't know, wait, what is it? Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, Winnipeg, Edmonton, Calgary, and Vancouver. That's only 7 Canadian teams. The rest of the NHL teams are all in the United States. Yes. Like, most of the players are Canadian, but most of the NHL teams play in the U.S., which include Pittsburgh, Philly, both New York teams, the Islanders and the Rangers. You also have the Sabres. You have the Detroit Red Wings, the Blackhawks, the Columbus Blue Jackets, St. Louis Blues, St. Jose Sharks, Anaheim Ducks, LA Kings, the Arizona Coyotes, Colorado Avalanche, Vegas Golden Knights, Seattle Kraken, Dallas Stars, the Florida Panthers, the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Nashville Predators. I think I got most of the teams. It's, like I said, there are more teams in the U.S. The Boston Bruins as well. There's just way more teams in the U.S. The Avalanche, Colorado, I think I mentioned that. St. Louis Blues. The Minnesota Wild. Basically, there's just way more teams in the U.S. than Canada. Pretty crazy stuff. I know it doesn't seem like it makes sense, but it is. It is just the way it is. Like, I can't help it. So we're gonna fly over the Nashville Zoo, which is the zoo in the city. It's the city zoo here in Nashville. So let's go ahead and play some bit of music. Yeah, that's just what it is. So there's one of the rail yards here. This is one of the other areas why Nashville's such a hub. So there is the Nashville Zoo down below us. Home to quite a few of the animals here. I think I've been to the Nashville Zoo once, but that was when I was really young. Hey, Raleigh Mall, good day, Raleigh. Good day, mate. And what? Oh my goodness, Murph just rated 160 viewers to Toe Murphy. Yo! Murph is here. Oh man, Tuto Murphy. What a fantastic one. Hey, Draco Extensi, boo. Good to have you here, Draco, good to have you here. Boo. Oh, good to have you here. So guys, you guys entered the chat. We're doing an ultralight flight return to the city of Nashville today. Draco Sensei, Muse Fan. We have Raleigh Mall, Devil Dude 1, Professor Wolin, Draco Sensei, Jack Dinkme. Good to have you here, first time chat. Super Typhon. We're trying to scare you all. No, you don't scare me. Dark Midnight 2 and Kazaki. Thank you guys so much. Amos ATTV with the follow. Draco Sensei follow. Dark Midnight 2. Great to have you guys here. So, this is a new series I'm doing on Sundays. This was actually suggested to me by friend to all who's in the chat. And this is Nashville. So earlier today, let me show you the flight plan. Let me do this up. No, not the slideshow. It is actually our flight plan. I'm gonna go pause this flight. I'm gonna go active pause. And let me show you my flight plan for today. So our flight plan took us a long way. we started at Murfreesboro, visited Murfreesboro. Then we visited Nashville International, which is one of the fast-growing airports in the U.S. Nashville Shores, Andrew Jackson's Hermitage, owned by the 7th President of the U.S., Andrew Jackson. The Grand Ole Opry. Fort Nashville, Nissan Stadium, First Tennessee Park, Fisk University, Tennessee State Capitol, Wyman Auditorium, Broadway Street, Bridgestone Arena, Country Music Hall of Fame, Fort Negley, the Fairgrounds of Tennessee, and right now we're currently heading our way to Lipscomb. The rest of the trip will include Lipscomb University, Belmont University in the Mansion, Music Row, Vanderbilt University, Nashville Parthenon, Tennessee State University, and then our final stop at John Cena 2. So yeah, tons of cool landmarks. And if you guys don't know, if you guys want to catch up, I do have my I'll definitely put it in my VODs, so you guys can know all about the landmarks. And of course, knowing me, I have plenty of PowerPoint information. So guys, if you're new here and you wanted to check out my latest streams, I have a Discord. So don't be afraid to check out my Discord. I have a... So we're visiting Lipscomb University, which is right in front of us. It's Lipscomb, a private Christian university here in Nashville, located in the Green Hill neighborhood, with about 4,595-year-old students. Lipscomb was founded in 1891 by David Lipscomb and James A. Harding, and some of its most famous alumni include J. Lee Stroop, who is most famous for the Stroop Effect, Jim Jenkins, the creator of the Doug animated series, and John Pierce, one of the greatest collegiate scorers in history of college basketball. So here it is. Here's Lipscomb. Welcome to Lipscomb University, guys. So, guys, I hope you've had an amazing stream with Murph. I know that Murph's flying. He flew the crap out of that 146. That thing looks absolutely incredible. And I definitely want to get my hands on that plane. I'm just waiting for when it gets on sale. So that way I can get it for pretty cheap. But I know you guys have an amazing flight. Murph, I can't believe how much grind you've done in the past couple streams. You've been doing so much great. Connor Official! Welcome, first time chat. My city, yeah, Nashville is lovely. I visited Nashville last week, Connor. Nashville is such a great city, and I can't believe this. I've been driving through Nashville. That city has grown so much over the past 2 decades. It's grown so much. But yeah, I really do like Nashville. It's a really cool city. It's got charm. Lots of charm from country music. And yes, the Predators, baby. Oh, all the soccer teams today at the new building. Connor Official, thank you for following. Connor, I was just talking about that a few minutes ago, Connor. The new stadium's opening today. Let me get back to that slide. Let me show you. Here, this is the previous slide, actually. Geodis Park. Geodis Park. 30,000 people. It's opening today on May 1st. $400 million to build it, but it's the largest soccer-specific stadium in the U.S. and Canada. Pretty cool thing, and I hope you have a great time at the new stadium. I mean, from where I'm from, Connor, I'm from near Louisville, and they just opened Lynn Family Stadium, which is a nice soccer stadium in Louisville. It's only like 10,000, but yeah, season tickets. It's a great stadium, but the parking situation's awful. Oh, I bet the fairgrounds gets kind of busy. Pretty crazy stuff. So, next place is going to actually be a historic site. This is Belmead Historic Site. So if you guys are new to my streams, I do these slideshows every single stream. So I will be doing these every single stream. So Belmead, this historic site is actually a mansion. This mansion was opened back in the late 19th century as a plantation. So Belmead is definitely a very well-known plantation. It was built in 1807 with the style of Greek Revival. It talks about John Harding, who, and they used slaves to clear and develop the land and built slave quarters and all that. It featured one of the largest smokehouses in Tennessee. Now, since the 90s, the executive leadership began to reconcile with the past, and they often tell the stories of the African Americans who brought in born at Belmead and worked there before and after the emancipation. And by 2018, they do now 2 different tours of the mansion and plantation. One told through the stories of the Harding and Jackson families, and one for the enslaved men, women, and children who were held here as well, and allowed them to explore the stories of the enslaved African Americans, which I think is a really cool thing to do. Is to explore the history of the full place, get the full history of the area, which I think is great. And it's great that we're telling the stories about all this. This place was quite well known. I've never been here. Again, I only visited Nashville for the first time last week for only 2 days. But this is about 250 acres. William John Harley first worked here and inherited the place in 1839. And they used it to actually have a lot of the slaves and stuff. After Union forces took control of the area in 1862, Harding was arrested and he was sent north in a prison in Fort Mackinac for 6 months. After the Civil War, Harding returned back to the area, and of the 136 slave people who worked there prior to the war, 72 actually chose to work for pay after the end of slavery, and most lived housing off the property, like in the cabins and such. And then Belmead was turned into a horse racing thing and produced many successful thoroughbred studs, whose bloodlines long dominated racing in America. After the death of Harding and all that, they developed it into a residential community known as Belmead, Tennessee, into its own independent city. In the 1970s, this mansion became part of the Register of Historic Places. So definitely a very historic little site. It's also a winery too, and they grow actually wine here. So here it is. Here's Belmead. This is Belmead Historic Site over here. So this is where they got all the different caverns and all that. So you can definitely see that here. Pretty. It's got all the historic sites. Now, during my tour in Nashville, we visited all sorts of places. But definitely the highlight of that trip was definitely watching the Predators. That was pretty cool. So from here, we're now heading to Belmont. So we're visiting Belmont University, which is another university here in Nashville. Nashville's got a lot of universities. So Belmont is a private Christian college. It was actually descended from Belmont University in the 1890 by Ida Hood and Susan Heron. And it was incorporated into Belmont College and became Belmont University in 1991. This Christian university is one of the upper tier private colleges. It currently enrolls 8,400 students, representing every single U.S. state in 28 different countries. Belmont is well known for its music programs, as it's the only AACSB accredited music business program in the world. It's home to lots of authors, performers, artist managers, record label execs, songwriters, and more. And Belmont is definitely universally known for its music. It's definitely a pretty solid national university, too. Athletically, they're known as the Bruins. And there's quite a few national alumni very well known here, including Matt Beattie, player for the Los Angeles Dodgers, Aisha Clark and Ian Clark are both NBA players, both professional basketball players. In terms of artists, there's a lot of musicians. But there is quite a few, but the ones I mentioned include Jimmy Bowen, a very well-known record producer, and he brought Nancy Sinatra and Lee Hazelwood together. Then we have one of the two parts of the Florida Georgia Line, Tyler Hubbard, and country music star Brad Paisley are all some of the alumni here at Belmont. So we should get to Belmont's campus pretty quickly. But seriously, thank you guys so much for this awesome raid. I really appreciate the new follows. It means a lot. And there's one more, and this is the Belmont Mansion. Now, I've been to this mansion, actually. It's a very cool historic site. It's also known as the Ackland Hall. This mansion was actually built by Joseph and Alicia Ackland to serve as their 180 summer estate. So the history of this mansion was built between 1849 and 1853. After the death of her husband, the infamous slave trader Isaac Franklin. Yes, Isaac Franklin, who was one of the largest slave trading firms in the United States. And he bequeathed his entire fortune to Ackland, the extremely wealthy widow Elisa Franklin, or known as Hayes. And she married Joseph Alexander Ackland from Alabama, and they began construction of it at the third tallest hill here in Nashville. And it featured lavish gardens, conservatories, an aviary, lake, and yes, even a zoo, which included bears, monkeys, alligators, and a deer park. Joseph and Alicia had six children together, but two of their twins died of scarlet fever. And this place, and Alicia was smart. She negotiated agreements between the Union and Confederates, which allowed her cotton to be shipped to Liverpool. So she was a crafty businesswoman, that's for sure. And she also had all sorts of paintings and sculptures in her place, including works from Randolph Rogers, Joseph Mosher, and Chauncey Ives. Now, months before her death, she sold the Belmont to Louis T. Baxter, and it was opened as a junior women's college and all that. I guess I flew over Belmont. Whoops. Whoopsie doopsie. So here it is. Here's Belmont. Whoops, I forgot. I overflew Belmont. I apologize. But yeah, it's a pretty cool mansion. And there are many visitors to this mansion. Mrs. Jane K. Polk, William Walker, Dwight L. Moody, and Thomas Huxley were all people who visited the mansion. So some very famous people visited her. So yeah, if you like this historic stuff, I got a lot of other content. Wednesdays usually are my bush flights, but I usually fly around the world in different countries. So here's Belmont. Yeah, here's Belmont. And let me see if we can find the mansions. So here's Belmont. All of it's Belmont University. And the mansion. And here's the mansion, I believe. Yeah, I think it's right here. Yeah, here's the mansion. The Belmont Mansion is right here. Here's the mansion. Right here. So here's the Belmont Mansion right here. So here's the Belmont Mansion here in Nashville. So the next place is Music Row. This is a very historic district here in Nashville. This is the heart of Nashville's music industry. Host to a lot of offices, record labels, publishing houses, and more. In the present years, they've been marked for extensive preservation. This includes a lot of the old historical studios and such. Blues from Holler, good to have you here. Thanks for the follow. So Music Row's got lots of rich history. And definitely a major landmark here in Nashville. So yeah, it's been great, guys. So here's Music Row. We should be passing over it. Music Row is over here. You see some of the entertainment stuff. Here's Music Row. And then next we're going to be visiting Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt University, named after Cornelius Vanderbilt. A very, very well-known magnet for business. But the reason it was named after him, though, was because Vanderbilt University, he gave an endowment to it, and he felt it would do a lot of good by the Civil War. Now, 13,000 students actually enroll here, and it's actually one of the most prestigious universities in the country. And there has been lots of famous alumni from there. 54 current former members of Congress, 18 ambassadors from the U.S., 13 governors, 11 billionaires, 7 Nobel Prize laureates, 2 U.S. vice presidents, and 2 U.S. Supreme Court justices. All make their home here. Vanderbilt is also a member of the Southeastern Conference, and is the only private school in that conference, and they won championships as the Commodores, 5 of them. Men and women's tennis and baseball are traditionally the strongest sports here. Vanderbilt is also universally well known for all of the medical research, especially for its hospital and such. And of course, it's a very selective university. In fact, it's one of the most selective in the entire country. So definitely a very important area of Vanderbilt. So let's fly around the campus for a bit. So welcome to Vanderbilt, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and take a pic, if you guys don't mind. So this is Vanderbilt University. Vandy is what they call it. So Vanderbilt University, pretty cool place. And then right next to it is the football stadium. It is Vanderbilt Stadium, the smallest stadium in the SEC with 40,000 people. Home to the Vanderbilt Commodores football program. It also hosted the Titans in 1998 when they were getting their professional stadium built. So here's the Commodore Stadium. It also has their baseball stadium here too. Here's the baseball facility. Next is we're going to visit one of the most iconic places in Nashville. Nashville, if there's a single landmark, it's this. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and get this thing parked. I'm going to let this bleed off some speed. No, we're not landing at the stadium. We're landing at this building. Oh, friends, oh no, it's CTD! Oh no! Friends all just have a CTD. Medic! His computer needs a medic. So, so this building here, it is actually, it looks like the Parthenon because it is the Parthenon. But we're not in Athens, actually. And this is because this is the Nashville Parthenon. So, the story about this Parthenon, this is actually a full-scale replica of the original one in Athens. It was built in 1897 by architect William Crawford Smith. Originally it was made of plaster wood, but in the 30s they rebuilt this thing back to being concrete. And it currently stands as an art museum and is the centerpiece of Centennial Park, a large public park just west of downtown Nashville. This area is actually quite an interesting one. Yeah, it's a full replica. And this art museum consists of 63 different paintings from 19th and 20th century American artists. And in the summer times, they use this building as a backdrop for Greek plays. And it's featured as a filming location for quite a few movies. From that 1975 film Nashville. It was served as a backdrop to Percy Jackson's movie In the Lightning Thief. So it was used in quite a few areas too in films. After the Parthenon, we're going to one final location, and we're going to visit Tennessee State University. It is it's a public historically black land-grant university. It was founded in 1912. It was founded in 1912 as the only state-funded conservatively black university in Tennessee. It still is. Tennessee State University offers 21 bachelor degrees, 23 master's degrees, and 8 doctoral degrees. This university is definitely well known. Academically, it is most well known for its information and biological sciences and all that as well. Its main teams are the Tigers. But there's some very famous alumni. There's 3 particular ones. UL Rip Gooch. He's actually a pilot and aviator. He serves over 20,000 hours as a commercial pilot. He's a certified flight instructor. He's an owner president of Aero Services. He was also a civil rights activist too. But he's one of the most important people in the aviation for Kansas. And provide a lot of flight training and such. Then we get to 2 other ones. First is Oprah Winfrey. Oprah, one of the most famous entertainers in the world, actually went to school here and graduated in 1987, and built a media empire, which cannot be understated here as well. And the final is actually a pro football player, American football player, and Hall of Famer Richard Dent. Also Claude Humphrey also called his name here too. So that is going to be Tennessee State University. So here's Tennessee State University. Here's Tennessee State, TSU. And finally, we make one final stop to the left, and that is our final stop at John C. Toon Airport. Our final stop, Kilo Juliet, whiskey, and November. So this airport is a reliever airport. It's mainly the GA airport here in Nashville, owned by the Nashville Metropolitan Air Authority, and it's named after John Childress Toon. Yeah. But this... So if you guys don't know who he might be, John C. Toon was an aviation pioneer. He's a national attorney, civic leader, and longtime aviation enthusiast, and one of the primary developers of the Modern Aviation Authority. This airport suffered damage in 2020 when tornado damage to its terminal and other buildings were all destroyed. But currently, the facility covers 360 acres, and it has one runway, direction 220, with 5,500 feet of runway. So that is going to be just John C. Toon Airport. And that is going to be the end for today. So there it is. Here's our airport, John C. Toon. And I think that's the end. We can go ahead and land. We can land at runway 02. And that's the end for today's trip. This is a great trip, guys. I really want to say thank you for everyone here. Quite a few new follows today. I'm really, really happy for it. Actually, I think if someone else who hasn't followed yet, do it. I'm one away from 350. I'm halfway to the 400 mark from 350. And of course, guys, do not be afraid to check out my Discord as well. If you like all this content and want to catch up on my latest flights. So I don't have to worry about it. Now let's see if you guys can predict my next landing. Okay, USPR gave the prediction. Well, negative 125. But I gotta say thank you guys so much. The raid really helped. Viperstrike 95 prevents all the fights in Discord to port to MSFS. Actually, maybe if someone could show... Yeah, I put them on my Discord, and I posted on a lot of the community Discords. I know I'm part of the Merc... Also, guys, one more thing, too. I haven't told anyone this. I'm also the official researcher, resident researcher for Two-Tone Murphy Streams. So, that's probably where I got it from. Just to let you guys know, if you guys have not checked it out. But yeah, this is a fantastic flight. 2-hour flight here, but this is perfect. I mean, what a great flight. And like I said, this ultraliight's perfect for exploring the world. This should be interesting. Friend all one. 76 feet per minute. Nice. So yeah, welcome to John C. Toon Airport. Gonna land here in the grass. I'm gonna park here in the grass. He's gonna take forever in this little ultralight. But man, what a great flight, guys. So this is John C. Toon Airport in the outskirts of downtown Nashville. Guys, this was an incredible flight. And like I said, I learned a lot from flying over Nashville for my research. And it turns out there are some amazing landmarks here. Just incredible. And I love these flights. Now, for my upcoming streams, Wednesday. You know what? I'm going to take a break from the bush flights for this week. I'm going to do another airliner flight, actually. This time, I'm going to probably take the Airbus A320. Probably taking it from Berlin to Paris. Oh, Team and Nathan just raided. Nathan, you're just rated. You're right at the end of the stream, but thank you, Nathan. Team and Nathan, I hope you had a great stream. But Wednesday, I'm thinking about taking a break from the bush flights on Wednesday and doing an airliner stream. I'm planning on flying from Berlin to Paris in the Airbus A320. Actually, probably not taking the Airbus. Oh, and Blue Fantasy Sports just followed. BFP Fantasy Sports, good to see you. Boss Lady 85 comes here. Thank you so much. Probably, I'm flying somewhere in Europe in the Airbus A320. Probably from Warsaw to Paris. I think would be really cool to fly. I wanted to do more airline stuff to get me ready for that 737. And then on Sunday, we're going to do the next tour series. Well, I'm going to tour my home city. Louisville, Kentucky would be the next city tour. How about my home city, Louisville? Mm-hmm. So expect a lot of history about my home city. A place I'm proud to be called home, Louisville, Kentucky. So guys, thank you so much. Let's see who we can raid for today. We can raid someone brand new, or we have plenty of other people we can pick. B-Mint would be a pretty cool one. I think we can raid B-Mint. B-Mint's a good Minnie's a good choice for today. She's flying the Mad Dog. Which the Mad Dog is called that because it's a mad dog. What do you expect? But no, B-Mint's a great friend of my community. Let's give her a big raid for her. So thank you guys so much. And to Tom Murphy, I want to say with the deep of my heart, thank you for the raid. You guys have been amazing, every one of you in the chat. So guys, let's go ahead and check out B-Mint, shall we? Let's give her a big welcome. And everyone, please stay for the raid. Every single person here that joins us in this raid matters. So thank you everyone so much for this. And I hope you guys take care and see you all Wednesday. And thank you guys so much. Viperstrike 95 is now out of here. Take care, everyone. Enjoy your Sunday.